Welcome to The Deep Dive. Today, well, we're tackling a career that's just full of contradictions, maybe one of the most complicated in modern comedy. We're looking at Louis C.K., Louis Alfred Segley,
hmm
and our mission really is to take all these sources, we've got bios, reports, analysis, and just try to unpack his journey.
Yeah, it's a big one.
How did he go from this kind of surprising background as a writer to becoming this major industry disruptor? We need to chart the highs, the creative peaks,
And the crash, definitely.
yeah,
The huge professional fallout.
and then the comeback, which is a whole story in itself.
Right. And before we even get into the timeline, I think it's crucial we just lay out the sheer scale of his success before everything changed around 2017. You have to understand the foundation.
Okay.
I mean, just looking at the facts, the sources pile it up. 6 Emmy Awards, 3 Grammys, 3 Peabody Awards. That's serious recognition.
Yeah, those aren't lightweight awards.
Not at all. And then you've got Time Magazine in 2012 listing him as one of the 100 most influential people. And Rolling Stone, just in 2017, right before the fall, ranked him number 4th, on their list of the 50 best stand-up comics of all time.
Wow. Number 4, that's incredibly high praise. It really speaks to how respected he was across the board, writing, performing, directing.
Exactly. Deep industry respect.
Yeah.
So the question we're digging into isn't just what he achieved, but really how.
How did he build this career that gave him so much power, so much independence, enough to become this pioneer in content distribution?
Totally redefining.
And then how did that same independence become the very thing that allowed him to keep working after the mainstream industry just completely cut him off?
It's fascinating, isn't it? It's like a case study in building your own platform, often out of frustration with the old ways.
So we're tracking the rise, the dramatic fall, and this really, really unusual rebuilding of a whole creative world. Okay, so let's dive into the beginnings. We all have this image, right? The sort of grumpy, divorced, white Boston comic.
The persona.
But his actual background, it's way more layered, way more international than you'd think. He was born in Washington, D.C. in 1967.
Yeah, the heritage itself is really interesting and kind of goes against that simple image. His father, Louis C.K, was an economist,
Okay.
and his background was Mexican and Hungarian Jewish.
Hmm?
His own father, C.K.'s grandfather, Geza Sekli Schweiger, was actually a Hungarian Jew who moved to Mexico.
Wow, okay, so Mexico is a big part of the story early on.
A huge part. That grandfather married a Mexican woman, Rosario Sanchez Morales, and they raised their kids, including C.K.'s father, as Catholics in Mexico.
And his mother.
His mother, Mary Louise Davis, she was American Catholic and of Irish descent. So you've got this real mix.
Hungarian, Jewish, Mexican, Irish Catholic, all feeding into one person.
Right. But the detail that really stands out, the one that maybe hints at that feeling of being an outsider later, it's the language.
He didn't start with English?
Nope.
Oh.
His first language was Spanish. The family moved to Mexico City right after he was born, stayed there until he was about 7.
So he spent his really formative early years entirely in a Spanish-speaking culture.
Exactly. He only started learning English when they moved back to the U.S., settling outside Boston, first Framingham, then Newton, Massachusetts.
That's a major shift for a kid, culturally, linguistically.
Huge. And then his parents divorced when he was 10. He was raised Catholic, mostly by his mom, in that very suburban New England setting. It's quite a journey just to get to adolescence.
You can see how that might shape a certain perspective. He always felt a bit like an outsider looking in.
Definitely seems plausible.
Yeah.
Now, his influences, he points to the greats, George Carlin, Bill Cosby, Richard Pryor, standard for comics of his generation.
Sure.
But his initial reason for wanting to get into TV wasn't like this burning artistic desire. It was much more grounded.
What was it?
He said it came from watching his mom. She'd come home tired from work and just watch these, quote, bad TV shows.
Oh, okay.
And he thought, I want to make something better than that for people like her to watch. Almost a practical goal.
Interesting. And his early steps into the industry weren't just about comedy performance. They were very hands-on, very technical. That seems really important.
It's absolutely pivotal for what comes later. After high school, fun fact, Matt LeBlanc was a classmate.
Joey Tribbiani, no way.
Yep. So after high school, CK worked as an auto mechanic, but crucially, he also worked at a public access TV station in Boston.
Ah, public access. The great equalizer.
Exactly. And that's where he learned the nuts and bolts. Cameras, editing, making stuff on basically no budget. He got the technical chops that he later used to direct and edit pretty much everything himself.
Short films, his TV shows.
All of it. He even said something like, learning is my favorite thing.
Yeah.
That technical grounding was absolutely key.
But getting on stage doing stand-up, that wasn't smooth sailing at first.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah.
His first try was in 1985.
Huh.
He was 17, open mic in Boston.
Mhm.
Total disaster. He apparently ran out of material halfway through his 5-minute set. Just froze. Yeah. It discouraged him so much he didn't perform again for 2 whole years. He found his feet much more quickly as a writer.
Right. So he moves to Manhattan in 1989, and that's when things start clicking on the writing side.
Yeah, he starts getting into the writers' rooms. He lands a job on Late Night with Conan O'Brien, 93 to 94. Then a brief stint at Letterman's Late Show in 95.
Those are big launching pads.
Huge. And the Conan job. The sources say it was more than just a break, it was a lifeline.
How so?
He was apparently so broke and discouraged right before he got the call, he was literally planning to quit comedy altogether, move back home. The very next day, Conan's show hired him.
Wow. Talk about timing. That one phone call changed everything.
Completely altered his path, kept him in the game.
Then he was up to head writer on the Dana Carvey show in 96. That show's legendary now, but not for its ratings.
Definitely not. It got canceled super fast, like 7 episodes. But the writing staff.
Unbelievable.
Who else was in there? You had Steve Carell, Stephen Colbert, Robert Smigel, Charlie Kaufman. I mean, just a murderer's row of comedy talent.
An incredible incubator, even if it failed commercially. It shows he was operating at a really high level in sketch comedy.
Absolutely. And then came the Chris Rock Show from 97 to 99. That's where he really cemented his reputation as a top writer.
And got some hardware for it too, right?
That's right. His first Emmy win came from that show. Best writing in a variety or comedy series, 1999.
So by the end of the 90s, he's established. He's an Emmy-winning writer, but still mostly behind the scenes.
Exactly. The next logical step, especially for someone with his background and ambition, was to take charge, to direct, to star, to control the whole thing.
Right, that desire for control. Maybe it goes back to those public access days, knowing how to do it all yourself. It pushed him straight into filmmaking.
He wrote and directed an indie film, black and white, called Tomorrow Night, premiered at Sundance in 98.
Did it go anywhere?
Commercially? No, not really. But it's interesting. Years later, in 2014, he actually self-released it through his website, showing that early instinct to control his own work, his own distribution.
And that instinct clashed hard with the studio system pretty quickly, didn't it? With Pootie Tang.
Oh, spectacularly. Pootie Tang, 2001. Adapted from a sketch on Chris Rock's show. He wrote it, directed it. This was supposed to be his big studio shot.
But it famously went sideways.
Completely. The studio fired him near the end of filming. They took the footage, re-edited it heavily. He barely recognized the final product.
And the reviews were brutal.
Vicious. Roger Ebert called it a train wreck, said it wasn't even releasable. Just absolutely savaged.
Wow. Even though it's kind of a cult thing now.
It is now, yeah. But back then, for him, that experience of having his vision completely taken away and butchered, you can imagine how formative that was.
Yeah, you can totally see why he'd spend the next decade trying to avoid that system entirely.
Precisely. And that's where things get really groundbreaking. He didn't just, sulk or go back to only doing stand-up. He channeled that frustration into basically inventing a new business model.
The direct-to-fan approach.
Exactly. This is probably his biggest, least controversial legacy in the industry. He started early, like we said, releasing his first album, live in Houston, on his site in 2001.
Okay, so the seed was planted early.
But it really bloomed, really became a strategy about 10 years later, 2011, the special live at the Beacon Theater.
Okay, break that down. Why was that release such a big deal? It wasn't just selling something online.
No, it was a statement, a philosophical choice. He released the full hour special directly on his website, price point, $5.
Just $5.
Just $5. And critically, absolutely critically, DRM free.
Meaning?
No digital rights management. You download it, you own it.
Yeah.
Copy it to your phone, your laptop, burn it to a disk, whatever. No restrictions.
Which was pretty radical back then with piracy being such a huge concern. What was his thinking?
He talked about it openly. He wanted to make buying it easier and cheaper than stealing it.
Right. Close the gap.
Exactly. Back then, torrenting was easy, but buying legally often meant dealing with clunky platforms, high prices, restrictions. He figured if he made the purchase super simple, super cheap, and totally restriction-free, people would just pay. Make the legal way the path of least resistance.
And did it work financially?
Did ever. It was a massive success. That special pulled in over $1 million directly from his website in just a couple of weeks. December 2011.
Wow, $1 million on a $5 download.
Yeah. It proved you could completely bypass the cable networks, the DVD distributors, all the traditional gatekeepers, and still make serious money with high-quality content.
And he didn't just pocket it all, right? There was a charitable aspect, too.
That was part of the whole package, part of the narrative. He publicly gave away about half the profits split between his staff who worked on it and several charities, like the Fistula Foundation and Kiva.
So the low press, the DRM-free model, the transparency, the charity, it created this template.
Totally. And other big comics noticed immediately. Jim Gaffigan, Joe Rogan, Aziz Ansari, they all started doing similar direct-to-consumer releases pretty quickly after that. It fundamentally shifted power towards the artists.
Okay, so that's the digital innovation track. But before that really took off, he did try a more traditional TV route again after the indie film stuff, right? Lucky Louie.
Yeah, 2006 on HBO, Lucky Louie. That was an interesting experiment in itself.
How so?
It was HBO's first sitcom shot in the old-school multi-camera style, in front of a live studio audience. Very different for HBO. It was meant to be this really blunt, kind of raw look at working-class family life.
Did it work for HBO?
Not really. It only lasted one season, got canceled. It sort of reinforced this idea that maybe his specific vision needed even more freedom than premium cable was willing to give at that point.
This period also had significant personal changes for him, the divorce.
Right. He and artist Alex Bailey divorced in 2008. They share custody of their 2 daughters.
And he talked about how that impacted his comedy.
Yeah, he was pretty open about it. Said his marriage had been such a huge part of his act for so long, it took him like a full year to figure out what his new material was, what his post-divorce voice sounded like on stage.
That makes sense. A big life shift like that changes your perspective.
But right around that time, as he's sort of figuring out his new act, something huge happens that pushes his stand-up career into a different stratosphere.
The viral moment.
The viral moment. His 2008 appearance on Conan O'Brien, the everything's amazing and nobody is happy bit.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. It was everywhere.
It completely exploded online in 2009. YouTube, blogs, everywhere. It made him a household name way beyond just comedy nerds or people who knew him from writers' rooms. It perfectly set the stage for his next big move, the one where he got total control.
And that next big move was Louie, 2010 on FX. This feels like the moment where everything clicks into place for him.
It really does.
Yeah.
All those threads we talk about, the technical skills from public access, the writing chops from late night, the ambition, maybe the frustration from the film attempts, it all came together.
And FX gave him the keys to the kingdom, basically.
Pretty much. The deal was legendary for the amount of control he got. FX gave him a relatively small budget, but in return, they offered minimal interference. He was the star, the writer, the director, and the editor on almost every single episode.
That's unheard of, especially back then.
Totally. And the show itself reflected that freedom. It was semi-autobiographical, blending these really cinematic, sometimes surreal vignettes about his life as a divorced dad in New York, with clips of his actual stand-up routines.
Critics loved it, right? They treated it more like indie film than a typical sitcom. What made it feel so different?
It was the style, the tone. It wasn't afraid to be awkward or depressing or just weird. It used animation sometimes, dream sequences. The pacing could be really slow, really observational. It broke a lot of sitcom rules.
More interested in mood and character than setup punchline.
Exactly. It felt deeply personal, very auteur-driven, and often really uncomfortable, but funny in that discomfort.
And the awards followed that critical acclaim.
Oh, yeah. The Emmys, in particular. He got nominated 5 times for lead actor. Didn't win that, but he did win twice for outstanding writing for a comedy series.
Which episodes?
First for Pregnant in season 2, and then, really significantly, for So Did the Fat Lady in season 3. That episode got a ton of attention.
Right. That one was really praised for tackling body image and dating in a way that felt brutally honest.
Critics really pointed to specific episodes or arcs as examples of the show pushing boundaries.
Like what?
Season 3 was often seen as a peak. There was that whole storyline with Parker Posey playing this kind of unstable bookshop clerk he dates. It was tense and funny and sad all at once.
I remember that arc.
Then there was the multi-episode thing where he sort of imagines himself potentially taking over Letterman's show, blurring reality and fiction.
Yeah.
And the New Year's Eve episode from that season, people called it audacious, playing with dream logic. It just showed how willing this show was to get experimental, to break form.
After season 3, though, he took a pretty long break from the show.
Yeah, about 19 months off. He wanted to focus on other things, especially film roles, which shows you how much his profile had grown. He was
Right.
getting pulled back towards the mainstream movie world.
Oh, kind of roles was he getting?
Pretty high-profile stuff, critically acclaimed films. He was in Woody Allen's Blue Jasmine, David O. Russell's American Hustle in 2013.
American Hustle won awards, right?
Yeah, the cast won the Screen Actors Guild Award for Outstanding Ensemble, so he shared in that. He was also in Trumbo in 2015, who is showing he can navigate both worlds, his very personal indie TV work and these big Hollywood movies.
But then he did something completely unexpected, even for him. Horace and Pete.
Ah, yes, 2016. This was something else entirely. He self-funded it, released it directly on his website with absolutely zero warning or promotion, just dropped it.
And it wasn't a comedy special. It wasn't like Louie. What was it?
It was basically a filmed play, a tragic comic drama set in this decaying, generations-old Brooklyn bar. He starred alongside some serious dramatic actors: Steve Buscemi, Edie Falco, Alan Alda, Jessica Lange.
Wow, that's a heavy-hitting cast for a web series he just put online.
Exactly. And the tone was heavy, too. Critics were kind of stunned trying to figure out what to even call it.
What was the consensus?
James Poniwozik at the time said that great line. It was like a Cheers spec script written by Eugene O'Neill.
That captures it. Dark.
Very dark, deeply melancholic. It dealt with mental illness, family secrets, alcoholism, but with these moments of bleak humor. People praised the writing. The acting was phenomenal. It's often pointed to as a key example, maybe even the pioneer of the sadcom comedy structure, but with profound, dramatic, often tragic weight.
Again, total control. No network notes, no marketing plan, just pure artistic vision, straight to the audience.
The ultimate expression of his independent model. And at the same time, he was still working within the system at FX, but as a producer, a creator.
Right. He co-created Baskets with Zach Galifianakis.
And Better Things with Pamela Adlon.
Yeah.
He co-wrote and directed the pilot for Better Things, which got a lot of acclaim itself. So he's got his fingers in all these pies.
High art indie drama, successful cable comedies he's producing.
And then, just to make it even more surprising, massive mainstream commercial success.
How?
Voice acting. In 2016, he voiced the main character, Max the dog, in the animated movie The Secret Life of Pets.
Oh, right. That movie was huge.
Huge GE. Made something like $875 million worldwide. Absolute blockbuster.
Okay, so let's just pause and take stock of where he is in, say, mid-2016.
It's kind of staggering.
He's self-releasing, groundbreaking, high-art drama online. He's co-creating hit shows on FX. He's acting in Oscar-nominated movies. He's the lead voice in a global animated smash hit.
And he's still doing stand-up at the highest level. He sold out Madison Square Garden 3 times on a single tour in 2015. First comedian ever to do that.
Plus, he won 2 Grammys for his stand-up albums during this period, hilarious and live at Madison Square Garden.
Right. It's hard to overstate the breadth and depth of his success and influence at that moment. He seemed to have cracked the code, complete creative autonomy, leading to both critical adoration and massive commercial appeal. He was the exception.
The absolute peak. But, as the sources indicate, even at this height, there were whispers, rumors starting to surface more publicly about his behavior behind the scenes.
The storm clouds were gathering, even if the empire looked untouchable.
Okay, so let's move into that turning point, 2017. And as you said, the sources show these weren't sudden, out-of-the-blue accusations. Rumors had been swirling for years.
Yeah, within the comedy world, definitely. People like Roseanne Barr had mentioned things publicly way back. Tig Notaro was quite vocal about it, especially leading into 2017.
What did Notaro say?
She publicly distanced herself from him, urged him to address the rumors of misconduct that just wouldn't go away. There was definitely a sense of something being known, or at least heavily suspected within the industry.
And right before it all broke, he had another film project. I Love You, Daddy.
Yes, a black and white film he directed and starred in. Shot on 35mm, very old school. It premiered at the Toronto Film Festival in September 2017.
But even then, the issue was present.
Oh, yeah. He was asked about the rumors directly in a New York Times interview around the festival time. And he denied them, called them rumors, said it wasn't productive to talk about them in the press.
So a public denial just weeks before.
Before the dam broke, November 9, 2017, the New York Times published their big investigative piece.
And what did it detail?
Allegations from 5 women about sexual misconduct. The most prominent were comedians Dana Min Goodman and Julia Wolof, who described him masturbating in front of them in his hotel room after a festival in 2002. Rebecca Corey said he asked if he could do the same in front of her on a TV set in 2005. She refused. Another woman, Abby Schachner, alleged he did it while they were on a phone call. It was specific, named, and corroborated.
And the reaction was immediate.
Instantaneous and devastating. Within hours, everything started to crumble. He released a statement pretty quickly.
What did his statement say?
Crucially, he admitted it. He said, "These stories are true." He acknowledged the power imbalance, saying he wielded that power irresponsibly. He included that line about thinking it was okay because he never showed a woman my dick without asking first, but then admitted that wasn't okay at all given the power dynamic. He said he'd step back and listen.
But the industry didn't wait for him to step back. They acted decisively.
Totally. It wasn't just a slap on the wrist. It was complete and utter professional exile. FX, his home base for Louie, baskets, better things, cut all ties immediately. Done.
Netflix.
Canceled an upcoming special they had planned with him, and they pulled all his existing stuff off their platform. Gone.
HBO too.
Same thing. Pulled all his specials, pulled Lucky Louie, canceled an appearance he was supposed to make on an upcoming benefit show. Wiped clean.
So the platforms just erased him. What about the projects he had in the works?
I Love You, Daddy, the film that just premiered. Its distributor, The Orchard, canceled the release entirely. Just shelved it.
Wow.
TBS had an animated series he co-created called The Cops. They suspended production, then scrapped it completely.
Even past work was affected, like the voice acting.
Yeah, they went back and removed him. He was replaced as the voice of Max in The Secret Life of Pets 2. His voice cameo was even removed from reruns of the Disney show Gravity Falls.
Okay, it was a systematic removal. The industry was sending a very clear message.
Unambiguous. Persona non grata. And the financial hit was enormous.
Did he ever put a number on it?
He later said, according to sources, that the immediate fallout cost him something like $35 million in lost income. Canceled deals, scrapped projects, future earnings just gone overnight.
$35 million. That really quantifies the value he commanded at his peak and the totality of the cancellation by the traditional industry. That door slammed shut. Hard.
Irrevocably closed. The mainstream path was gone.
So the mainstream industry shuts him out completely, but as we discussed, he had built this other thing, this direct line to an audience.
That independent infrastructure he'd been building for years.
And he didn't stay away for that long, did he? When did he first reappear?
Less than a year later, August 2018, he did an unannounced drop-in set at the Comedy Cellar in New York.
Just showed up?
Just showed up, did about 15 minutes of his usual kind of material, didn't address the controversy directly on stage, and reportedly got a standing ovation from the crowd there.
An ovation! Wow, that must have immediately sparked debate.
Oh, instantly. It became this huge flashpoint. You had comedians like Judd Apatow, Aparna Nancherla saying it was way too soon, that he hadn't shown enough remorse, hadn't done the work.
And on the other side.
You had some really big names. Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Sarah Silverman, even Jim Gaffigan, basically defending his right to perform stand-up again, making a distinction between performing on stage and, say, getting a TV deal, arguing the audience could decide.
It really split the community.
Deeply. Jerry Seinfeld had an interesting take on it later.
What did Seinfeld say?
He suggested the public, or parts of the public, felt C.K. hadn't performed the expected ritual of contrition, that after such a big public tumble, people want to see the grovel, as Seinfeld put it. And C.K. sort of skipped that step by just going back to telling jokes, denied them that narrative arc.
Interesting perspective. But his return wasn't smooth. There was controversy about the new material almost immediately, right?
Yeah, that December 2018, someone secretly recorded a set he did on Long Island and leaked it online.
And the jokes caused problems?
Big problems. The leaked audio included jokes about the Parkland school shooting survivors, about non-binary people. Really provocative stuff that sparked immediate outrage and wall-to-wall negative press.
So how did he respond to that leak, that scrutiny?
He doubled down on controlling the environment. That's when the Yondra pouches became standard at his shows.
Those pouches where you have to lock up your phone.
Exactly. Audience members have to put their phones and any recording devices into these locked pouches before entering the venue. You keep the pouch, but you can't access your phone until you leave and get it unlocked.
So it wasn't just about protecting his jokes from being stolen.
No, it seemed more about preventing hostile leaks, preventing jokes from being taken out of context and weaponized online or in the media. It was about ensuring the performance only existed in that room, between him and the paying audience, creating a sealed environment.
A fortress around the direct transaction.
Yeah.
And other comedians started using them too.
Yeah, it became much more common after that, especially for big names doing potentially controversial material. Chappelle uses them, John Mulaney has. C.K. certainly helped popularize it out of necessity. Then came the definitive signal he was fully embracing the independent path again, releasing a new special himself. Yep, January 2020. Sincerely, Louis C.K. dropped it on his website, $5. DRM free, just like the old days. No advance warning, no traditional promotion.
And that special actually got major recognition, didn't it, despite everything?
It did. In 2022, it won the Grammy Award for Best Comedy Album.
Wow, a Grammy.
Yep.
So the Recording Academy voters gave him that validation, even if the Emmys or the film industry wouldn't touch him.
Exactly. It showed that his independent ecosystem could still yield the highest industry awards in certain fields, completely bypassing the gatekeepers who had exiled him.
What was the general reaction to the special itself, the content?
Still divisive, as you'd expect. Some critics acknowledged parts were funny, but wrestled with the context. Amy Schumer's comments were interesting. She says she laughed a lot, but found it hard not to think about his past actions, questioned if he'd really changed or learned anything. The ethical shadow remained.
And he kept releasing specials this way.
Yeah, he followed it up with Sorry in 2021, and then Back to the Garden in 2023. That last one was recorded at a sold-out Madison Square Garden show.
So he's still filling arenas, even operating completely outside the mainstream system.
Seems so. The direct audience connection is still strong enough for that. He also went back to filmmaking on his own terms.
Right, 4th of July, 2022.
Co-wrote and directed that comedy drama. And the way he promoted it was the final piece of the puzzle, really showing his complete break from the old ways.
How did he promote it? No talk shows.
Zero traditional media, no late-night appearances, no morning shows, no newspaper interviews. Instead, he went exclusively to big podcasts.
Like Joe Rogan.
Exactly. He did long-form interviews on the Joe Rogan Experience, Your Mom's House, with Tom Segura and Christina Pasitsky, platforms with huge, dedicated audiences where he could have unfiltered conversations, bypass journalists entirely.
It solidified his move into this parallel media universe, relying entirely on that direct, often digitally mediated relationship.
Completely. The new model, born of necessity but built on the foundation he'd laid years before.
Okay, just to round out the picture, let's touch briefly on his stated personal views, his philosophy, politics, which seem, maybe unsurprisingly, resistant to easy labels.
Yeah, that fits the pattern. Politically, he's expressed a real skepticism about anyone who fits neatly into one ideological box.
Where did he put it?
Said he's very suspicious of people who fall into one category for everything. He thinks some issues need a conservative approach, others need a liberal one. He values that kind of independent thinking over strict party lines.
But he has commented very strongly on specific figures, notably Donald Trump.
Oh, unequivocally. During the 2016 election, he sent out this widely publicized email to his fan list.
What did it say?
He compared Trump to Adolf Hitler, called him an insane bigot, a sad man. Really strong language.
Did he stand by the Hitler comparison?
He later walked that specific comparison back, calling it maybe irrational hyperbole, but he didn't walk back his overall assessment. In 2017 on Colbert's show, he clarified his view of Trump as, and this is a direct quote, a gross crook, dirty, rotten, lying sack of shit.
Okay, so pretty clear where he stood there despite the aversion to labels.
Very clear. And his voting record seems to back that up, generally leaning left.
How so?
Sources say he voted for the Democratic presidential candidate consistently in 2004, 08, 12, and 16. He did donate to Joe Biden's campaign in 2020 about $2,800. But the Biden campaign later stated that they refunded the donation.
Interesting. Okay. And outside of politics, relationships, religion?
Well, he was married to Alex Bailey from 1995 to 2008. He dated the musician Fiona Apple for a while. And more recently, he confirmed he was dating French comedian Blanche Gardin in 2018.
Are they still together?
Reports indicate they had broken up by August 2022.
And religion. Raised Catholic, but now
Identifies as agnostic.
Okay. So let's try to wrap this all up. We've followed this incredible arc. The surprising international childhood, Spanish as a first language, the early technical skills that proved so vital, the move from being a top-tier writer behind the scenes to wanting control, the difficult Pootie Tang experience pushing him towards independence.
Then pioneering that direct-to-consumer model that really did change the game for comedians.
Reaching that absolute creative peak with Louie, experimenting with Horace and Pete, achieving massive mainstream success simultaneously.
And then the crash. The 2017 allegations, the admission, the total industry exile, costing him, by his own account, tens of millions of dollars.
It really is a story of extremes. Extreme success, extreme failure, extreme independence.
That's the core of it, I think. The contradiction. He gets the highest honors from the mainstream Emmys. Recognition then gets completely cast out by those same gatekeepers.
But his survival, his ability to still work, to fill Madison Square Garden again, to win another Grammy after being canceled.
It rests almost entirely on that independent pathway he built. The website, the direct sales model, the podcast circuit. It became his lifeboat, built years before the storm hit.
He essentially constructed his own parallel industry, one immune to the decisions of the old one, using yonder pouches and sympathetic podcast hosts as his new gatekeepers, in a way.
It's a remarkable second act, possible only because of that foundation of autonomy.
Which brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. We've talked a lot about how CK's innovations in selling tickets and specials were designed to cut out the middleman, right? To create this pure, direct link between him and his fans, giving him freedom, making him millions.
Bypassing the traditional filters.
So, knowing everything that happened in 2017, knowing the scale of the professional consequences he faced from the established media companies, the networks, the studios, what does it really signify?
What does it mean for where entertainment might be heading?
Yeah. What does it mean that his ongoing career, his ability to still sell out arenas and release acclaimed work, now depends almost entirely on that direct transactional relationship? A relationship that, by its very nature, avoids the old gatekeepers, the critics, the network executives, the HR departments who decided he crossed a line.
Think about that. What are the implications when an artist can effectively bypass the industry's ethical judgments as long as that direct connection to the consumer remains strong enough? It's something to consider next time you click buy on content the old system might have refused to distribute.